Imagine this. For the past 6 months, you've been applying to different job interviews and you managed to land one. You start preparing the best as you can, you look at questions that come up regularly, and you try to read up on the company. And once you're done with the interview, you feel, you know what, I did a pretty decent job. But as time comes by, you feel more and more kind of insecure of how you actually did. And you start getting very anxious about how the job interview actually went. Will you land this job? Will you not? This job is super important for you. This job will help you building up yourself and helping out your parents. So you stay anxious, and this anxiety is not really productive at all. You cannot really do anything because you're constantly thinking about this. And subconsciously, you just go on social media, you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, just because you want to distract yourself, even though you might not even know it. So what is this phenomenon? Well, that person has a trouble with acceptance. And trust me, this example that I just gave to you was me 2 months ago. Applied to this really important job and I really needed to have it. And I didn't get an immediate response of how it went, so I kept thinking about it. I distracted myself. Okay, let's go on TikTok, let's go on whatever. Which resulted that I couldn't work on myself. I couldn't work on anything that mattered because I was just waiting for this answer. So what did I actually do to stop thinking about it constantly and stop wasting my time on, useless stuff? I understood what's in my control and what's outside of my control. Me doing the interview and preparing as much as I can is something that is in my control. But me getting the job is something that I cannot control. That is entirely up to the person who's hiring. Also learn to not judge, control, or run away from these thoughts. It's essential to be able to live with discomfort. It's not supposed that you feel great all the time. It's okay if you're a bit anxious, but just recognize that anxiety and having it at a side, it's what's important. When you have it all up in your face, that's when it gets bad. Because not having any acceptance for the things that is outside of your control can lead to bad coping mechanisms. And this can even lead to guilt later on the road. For example, if your coping mechanisms is to overeat, then that might lead to guilt. And these coping mechanisms exist because of your anxiety, your thought loops that you keep thinking about. And another side effect of not accepting what's happening is a general worse mood and a shorter temper. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're on the beach. You have this floating beach ball with you, and you are kind of annoyed that it exists. So you start pushing it down underwater. But what's going to happen with this ball? Pushing it underwater takes a lot of effort. And once you start getting tired, you're going to release the ball and it's going to have more momentum than before and rise up to the top. But what if you instead just accepted that the ball existed there? It existed beside you in the water. And yeah, it's annoying. It might keep touching you from time to time, but you accept that it exists and that's okay. That's exactly what you have to do to start accepting these outside factors. So you have to start with acknowledging your feelings. Write them down. You probably heard of journaling before, and this is where it becomes important. Acknowledge that what you're feeling right now is human emotions. It makes total sense. If you're worried about a test result after you wrote an exam, or the result of a job interview, or maybe if this girl that you have been texting the past week actually likes you, well, that's outside of your control, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable about not knowing what's gonna happen. So once you wrote down your emotions and acknowledged them, it's also good for you to have some sort of self-care time, some time for yourself. For me, it means going to the gym and releasing every thoughts there. I just listen to some hardstyle, some Ziz, and just fucking blast it. You can also call a friend or family member for a bit of support to have somebody on your side. And another great habit you can get into is start meditating. When you meditate, you truly feel exactly physically where it hurts, where your anxiety lies, and you can breathe in and try to acknowledge the emotion. And doing this helps a lot, even though it's just 10 minutes. I use an app called Medito. It's completely free and it's really good. Take out a sheet of paper, draw a big circle. Inside the circle, I want you to draw or write what's inside of your control. What can you control? How do you talk to yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you treat others? How do you talk with others? What's your boundaries? These are some things that is inside of your control. So write them down just to acknowledge them. And remember to do this task with one topic in mind. And then outside the circle, I want you to write what's not in your control. That's usually, for example, what's going to happen in the future. You usually cannot control it. You can just control what you can do here and now. And with this task, hopefully you can get a better understanding of what you can control and focus more on that and kind of just accept the things you cannot control. And this way you will have way more mental energy to do the things you want to do, and that's all that matters. If you watched this far, I want to thank you and I hope this video was of help. If you enjoyed this type of content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Peace.